All right. Peace, family. Oh, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much for your patience. We are now here. And trust me when I say the wait is worth it. Because, oh, what a show, what a show, what a show. And when you hear about, first of all, don't you just feel good, family? I know shit may seem crazy in the world, but wow, spiritually inside, there's something going on that we can't explain. Rod was like he couldn't move a couple of weeks ago. He was just in the bed, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of things going on, but it's good times. But listen, I want all y'all to come in the room, get comfortable, hit that like button. We about to have an epic show tonight. I just had the brother on last week, but something told me to bring him back on now to have this show with this topic. We've talked about this briefly before, this whole concept in this term called Radiohead, and we're going to get in that tonight. Let's get to a quick commercial, family. Please tell your friends and family if they want to figure out who they are, if they want to figure out the technology about how to be the best version of themselves. Man, listen. Y'all need to tell them right now. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to do that. Let's get to a quick commercial and we'll be right back, family. All right.
This is a gather. 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 This is a gather of the masses. This is a gather. 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 This is a gather of the masses. This is a gather. 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 This is a gather of the masses.
All right, family. Just to let y'all know, for those who was inquiring about the full conference, the Gathering of Masses, I'm uploading it on my Patreon. I haven't posted in my Patreon in the last month, so I said let me just put it on the Patreon instead of putting it on the website. So we'll be on Patreon. I got some of the speakers on there now. I'm uploading them one by one. But if you want to get access to the conference, just go over to the Patreon. It is right there. Rod Hayes, welcome back, my brother. Welcome back.
Always a pleasure, Brother Rich. Always a pleasure. We get to pass out and give out so much free game.
Oh man, amazing.
And I come from the school is if you give them the game, can't nobody run the game on them.
Woo! There you go, Rod. Before we start the show, because I like to go with the flow. And I told you right before we start the show, Rod said, you stay with your pen. I said, yeah, because Rod, the questions are coming to me. And if I don't write them down, they'll leave. Let me ask you this, because something just came to my mind. I notice every time we do a show, and tonight's conversation is called Radiohead. And you're going to explain the whole concept of Radiohead and the brain being a radio receiver and all of that. We're going to go into all of that. But I'm just curious before we start. And this came to me, so I'm just going with the flow. You're always chiefing. When we do a show. Oh, and not just my show, any show you do, you always chiefing with the ganja. What is the difference you notice, Rod Hayes, when it comes to channeling information when you chiefing and when you not chiefing? Is there something about chiefing that causes a certain download, that causes certain information to come to you versus when you're not chiefing, my brother?
So that's a good question, Brother Rich. And it goes to marijuana chief, tobacco chief, and alcohol chief. They are sometimes you can have a alcohol tobacco chief, you can have a marijuana tobacco chief, you can have a marijuana alcohol chief. Alcohol not good to me. It turned me into something that I go from Bruce Banner to the Incredible Hulk. So alcohol not good for me. And that's the drink champs, they alcohol chiefs.
Exactly. Indeed. Good example.
They have the ability that a lot of us don't have, especially the ones that's originally from over here, because our neuroenzymes differ across tribes. Some of us, the alcohol turned into some stark raving lunatics. And you always hear the one say that brother shouldn't drink because every time he drink, he in something.
Yeah.
That's us. So the drink champs, go. This is going to tie right back into the marijuana. The drink champs is the ones who can control the alcohol. So when they call you in and sit you before the chiefs that can control the alcohol, they giving you alcohol and they drinking and y'all asking Q&A, but you taking sips. And as the alcohol begin to take effect, the drink champs then begin to ask you the heavy hitting hard questions. And this is how we figured out Paleface speak with forked tongue. He's speaking for two different people. Because when he's sober, he's telling you his mission, what he was sent for. But when he get drunk, he's telling you his dreams, his ambitions, and his desires.
Yes.
He's speaking the truth of his heart. That's why they say drunk men speak with a sober mind. The marijuana chiefs was the ones who shared the peace pipe. Because if you try to lie to them while you're smoking the peace pipe, it's gonna they're gonna know what to ask you to force the truth to come out. The ability to tap into these ancestral energies, which chiefs, I tried to tap into the alcohol chiefs. They don't like me. They make me do horrible stuff.
Right.
So I had to go with the chiefs that can give me higher mental acumen. And the marijuana chiefs, nicotine is a neurostimulant. The marijuana relaxes the whole physiological framework and it allows you to remain calm in hostile situations so you can see clearly what's in front of you. Right? The Rastas say the marijuana, the ganja, is the original mind that God was in when he's in creation. So when we looking at the use of substance, this is how Big Mama's oldest ones get the title of Vice Lord. They don't let the vice use them. They utilize the vice in order to facilitate energy that they're trying to use in order to perform a function. So as a marijuana chief, I can relax the synapses. I can eat the craving sugars that's going to cause the dirty burn, that's going to put the soot in the brain. The soot becomes the dark matter. The dark matter then communicates directly to the melanin. And once you communicate directly with the melanin is auto-sentient. Wherever melanin is, it can get you information from there. Right? So the dirty burn facilitates the soot. The soot is the carbon from the dirty burn because 90% of your glucose is consumed by the brain, not the muscles. The muscles consume the protein.
Indeed.
So when you get that craving, you get craving normally for sugary things and things that's like chips, that's carbs, high carbs. You got fast burning sugars and you got slow burning sugars. These are your different rates of combustion of the in the brain of this of the glucose. So it allows me to tap into all of the chiefs before me using the sympathetic link of the smoking the ganja and also the understanding of the complete struggle of the people, the ones who can relay the information telepathically from beyond will then be able to push information through and it'll come through effortlessly and it'll be able to be understood by more people.
Okay. You know, Rod, like like I said, I get these questions right while you talking, and we have a magnificent show, ladies and gentlemen, I promise. But I gotta ask another question before we start the conversation about the brain being a radio receiver. And the reason why I want to ask you this question, I had a thought, and I text Blue Pill earlier, and I'm not gonna say exactly what I text them, but I want to ask you a question based on what we was talking about. And you talked about melanin because I noticed. Well, I'm not going to say what I noticed, but I just want to ask you this, Rod. Do you think Black people exaggerate the importance of melanin? Because I notice other communities, it's like a forbidden word in their communities. They don't even mention it. They could be a quantum biologist. They could be this. They could be that. I noticed there's one female. There's a female, Dr. Catherine Clinton, that I had on my show, and she mentions it all the time. But I noticed the rest of the spiritual community outside of the melanated ones don't ever mention melanin. They'll mention everything in the world. They'll mention a pineal gland, hypothalamus, heart brain coherence. I mean, the magnetite crystals in our, they'll mention everything. But when it comes to melanin, they're like, shh, don't say that. Don't say that. So I'm like, are we exaggerating the importance? Is it that important?
They mention it. They just don't call it melanin.
They code words. Code words.
Yeah. So anytime they say alchemy, right?
Yes, sir.
They're talking about melanin.
Talk to me, Rod.
Anytime they talk about dark matter, they're talking about melanin.
Talk to me, my brother.
Right. Anytime they talk about carbon synthesis, they're talking about melanin.
Talk to me. Talk to me.
Right. And so they don't use the term melanin because it gives credibility to us being the original people melanated of the planet. Mm-hmm. And that these other people, the lighter you get, the newer you are, in addition to the tribes of the earth.
Right.
And it got a spectrum that's on the DNA where you can become a range of different phenotypical tone. Mm-hmm. I seen a good meme, a good clip on TikTok the other day. And a man said, I don't believe in racism. We all just shades of wheat. Mm. And that's what it is, because we really shades of corn, because corn is the wheat carbon that we was used to make the avatars.
Okay. All right.
Right. So as things get older, they fade in time. Yeah. The original ones is still the original ones, but they ain't always dark as they was when they first took on the first avatar.
Indeed.
Right. It's the same with size. Not only was they dark, they was huge. You needed a 12-strand DNA to program them. Right. But as you upgrade, you downsize. Yeah. You ever notice that? The more cars develop, the smaller they get.
And the phones, they keep getting smaller and smaller, and they're like, it's upgrade. Yeah.
So that's all. It's showing you the sequence of events over and over and over, cycles and cycles. Right. So the Titans was too big to fit on the Earth the size that it is now. Right. So once the Titans don't fit the Earth, they have to downsize. They have to leave the 7th dimension and the 8th dimension. And then they have to not only downsize, they have to create an avatar that's a rover. That's going to meet. It's a meat rover. Rolling around on Earth. Right. And the Earth rover, you can tap into any frequency going to the radio head.
Yeah.
The older ones know what's called totem magic.
Right.
Totem magic is the ability to tune in to the spiritual frequency of your totem animal.
Okay.
This is why land law in Turtle Island is governed by totem poles. Mm-hmm. Right? And admiralty law is governed by flags. Mm-hmm. So they put air and water over the land jurisdictionally, but the land is supposed to be governed by the land roving people. But they all got us classified as lost at sea in the shipwreck. The Plymouth Rock landed on us. We didn't land on it. Yeah. And the Plymouth Rock was the good ship Plymouth that they called the Mayflower in the history books.
Fire.
Right? So it's all cycles within cycles to understand how we get from higher dimensions into lower dimensions. You have to slow down.
Indeed.
You have to be still. Right? Now, the thing about the mind is when you slow the mind down, it gets bigger. But when you speed it up, it gets smaller. Right?
So we ain't even start yet, y'all. We ain't even start yet. Go ahead. We ain't even start yet. Go ahead.
So if you imagine driving down the street at 100 miles an hour, you see how fast things are going past you.
Yeah.
When you walking
ahead.
down the street, you can
Yeah,
take your time and see the scenery.
yeah, see everything. Yep.
Yeah. It's called panoramic view when you walking.
Right.
It's called a speed view when you driving. Your speed view is going to be obstructed by the speed,
Indeed.
right? The velocity of light,
Yes. Ooh, obstructed by the
right?
speed, velocity of light. Go ahead. Okay. Okay.
Right. So once you begin to slow the mind down, you could see everything that you seeing in the vehicle rolling, but you get to see it like you walking.
Ooh.
So you filter in. You gotta remember, we hold neutron stars energetically.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we gotta project ourselves just enough into this physical avatar not to consume it with fire.
Mm. That's called spontaneous human combustion.
Yeah.
Oof. Oof.
That's mitochondrial maximum output without the proper channels open in the chakra system that allows the energy to jump between dimensions. So it overloads the circuits that are open, and the generated heat causes the combustion.
Nah, this ain't. This is a dream, y'all. Yo, this show is fire. This is a dream, y'all. This part, yo, this show is listen. Okay, Rod, you keep talking, so I keep coming up with questions. I'm trying not to listen, Rod. Let me ask you this. Based on what you said. All right. So, Rod, you talked about flags, right? Nations and flags. We talk about Tahuti, the seven hermetic laws, as above, so below, right? In the below realm, in the earth realm, whether it's below or above, whatever you want to call it, the nations have flags. What is the Anunnaki flag, Rod Hayes? If we have flags down
They
here,
don't operate with flags. They use symbols, and sometimes a symbol
our
is right
flag
on your
is a symbol.
flag.
Our flag is a symbol.
Right, but they don't fly flags because flags are useless in outer space.
So what's their symbol?
Flags is
What's their
the
symbol?
purpose of the flag is to see on the seas a ship at a distance and who his allegiance is to.
Right.
But when you flying in outer space, your symbol that's on the side of your craft, like what's on the side of an airplane.
What's
Then
their
the
symbol, Rod?
presidential, right? The Anunnaki symbol.
Yes, what's their
Um,
symbol?
okay, for the sky fleet,
Tell me,
it's
Rod.
it's the winged disc with a man sitting on it.
Hold up, say that again. The Anunnaki symbol is what?
It's a winged disc
Uh-huh.
with the upper torso of a man on it. That's the
What?
symbol for governing from the air. That's the air fleet.
Okay.
The water fleet symbol is a man in a fish suit called a nomo,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But the symbol for the rule of the earth is a woman with owl's feet that's standing on lions with an owl on each side of her. This is the symbol, Anunnaki symbol for who governs earth.
Mm-hmm.
It's a matriarchal planet.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady is called the Lady of Heaven and Earth, or the Queen of Heaven and Earth. Takes you to, in Sumer, she's Inanna. In Kemet, she's Isis. In India, she's Kalima, right? And she got all of the titles of all of the male gods, but they don't want you to know that. So that you won't know that Big Mama rank is superior to all the ruler gods. The creator gods is the governors of earth. They the owners of earth. The ruler gods is supposed to enforce the will of the creator gods to make sure that the creation keeps its order and maintain its balance.
But Rod, so you saying that, let me ask you this. And like I said, we didn't even technically start the show yet, but we started off shooting, y'all. This is a game. We nailing threes. You say Earth is a matriarchal planet, and we're getting ready to get in the conversation of the brain being a radio receiver, tapping into the broadcast station and tuning into certain frequencies, right? So if the whole universe is a hologram, Earth, is it Earth whatever I say it is planet? If it's a hologram and my mind is projecting this hologram, you say it's matriarch. Isn't it a whatever the F I say it is planet? Since it's a hologram to begin with, since a hologram can be manipulated, Rades?
Well, you got to remember the smallest part of the hologram is equal to the equivalent of the whole.
The whole. Good, great point. Great point.
Right?
Yes.
The male is the inversion of the female part of the hologram.
Excellent.
You can only get into the hologram through the female uterus womb matrix portal.
I love that. I love that. Excellent response.
So if you could get in, if you can get in without the agency of a male figure, you have to come through the woman. If you need a male figure, you come through what's called the seminal fluid or the sea man or the moor man or the merman. So the difference is the earth. What's the epithets for the planet? Have you ever heard anybody say Father Earth?
No, never.
Have you ever heard anybody say Mother Earth?
Yes.
And everybody heard about Mother Nature, but we all rely on Father Nature without knowing the nature of the father versus the nature of the mother. Because they got different roles. These is your clauses. Santa Claus and Mama Claus. The Santa Claus or the saint of the clauses is the one who knows how to grandfather in the oldest clause, which is the grandmother clause. Because woman don't come from man, man come from woman. That means she was first. Right? And the confidence in the self to acknowledge the source is the confidence to tell the people the absolute truth, regardless of what the hologram wants you to project. Because that's the only way to break the stronghold of the psychological subjugation of the holographic matrix.
Got you.
Right? Once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Once you hear the truth, you can't unhear it. Now, your higher self begins to correct all of the errors subconsciously. They call it speaking in light code.
Yes, sir.
And the greatest teacher of teachers that can speak the light code in the last 1,000 years been Malachi York. He wasn't teaching as a teacher. He was teaching teachers how to teach. That's why they had to get rid of it. But it was too late. The salve has been given. It was bitter to the stomach, to the taste, but it's sweet to the stomach. It's to change everything, is to know how to speak in the way that people understand the language. Elijah Muhammad gave Malachi the message, make it plain enough for a baby to understand it.
Who Elijah told Malachi that?
He told all of us that.
Yeah.
But Malachi was also listening. But he didn't make it plain enough for a baby to understand it. He made it plain enough for the teenagers to understand it so they can tell the babies what they understand. Step down education from the elders. Right? And go all the way back to pay attention to the European, because I'm going to make them tell you the truth, Noble Drew Ali. Before that is Prince Hall, what they do in secret, we going to find out to put in the public. Right? To Marcus Garvey, up you mighty people, do what you will. You don't have to take this if you don't want to, but the problem is that you're willing to accept what you've been given, so therefore you can't get nothing that you deserve. Right? So they all have a pivotal role. Some of them played the role of shady characters.
Right.
In order to draw the heat out so that we could see that the real enemy looked like us. I be calling them spirit artificial. Elijah called him Yakub's grafted devil. Malachi called them the sons of Canaan. But whatever they called them, they start off looking like us, but we keep forgetting that Elijah told you the best part of the puzzle. Yakub was going to never live to see his creation through, so he left some niggas in charge. So it's their responsibility to make sure that Yakub's grafted beings can rule over you, being genetically inferior. But this is really the cover story for an Anunnaki edict that they was given by the Galactic Council for creating people that doesn't have ascension rights. It's a violation of the free will universe. Earth is in a free will universe, feminine jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm.
All restricted will universes, masculine jurisdiction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now the feminine jurisdiction, the law of the land, is faced with the masculine jurisdiction, the law of the high seas,
Mm-hmm.
right? So when you pit the two together, the law of the land on land trumps the law of the water on land.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you talking it's a battle between jurisdictional supremacy among the ones that was dressed like they was legitimate and the ones who was legitimate that didn't look the part, right? So the remedy was to give them a drop of Anunnaki blood in the Sumerian tablets. In America, we have something called the one-drop doctrine. What are the epithets for America? What do they call America? The great melting pot, right?
Yes.
Right? God's crucible. If it's God's crucible, that means whatever the edict of God, you're going to go through some harsh treatment in order to meet the object of the cook. The crucible is where you melt down metals. And the species called human are represented by platinum group metals. Right? So in God's crucible, you mixing all of the metals, right, in order to come out with what was called a common coinage, a common denominator for financial exchange of energies. Anybody who haven't assimilated the drop of blood wouldn't have the rights to a sin, and the only way you can determine is through arts and entertainment.
Indeed.
You read that, Brother Rich.
Yeah, no, I ain't gonna read it. Somebody left a super chat. I just want to put it on the screen. But right, so let me ask you this. Let's move on. One more question before we officially start the show. And we talked about melanin a little earlier, and I told you about a conversation I had with Blue Pill and a large aspect of the spiritual community purposely not mentioning the word melanin, and you said they're using code words. And you know, people might get offended or they might be insecure about the use of the word melanin if the lighter they get. I want to ask you, Rod, because there's a lot of misconceptions about melanin. So if a person asks you, "Hey, Rod Hayes, are you trying to say everybody darker than you, because we associate color with melanin, is more spiritual than you? Is that how this melanin thing works? Everybody, let me say this again. Everybody darker than Rod Hayes more spiritual than Rod Hayes, melanin wise? Talk to me, Rod. Is that how this thing works? Talk to me.
Your spirituality comes in where your neuro-melanin can serve as a backdrop of projection for what's being projected from your pineal gland, which is your third eye or your inner eye.
Got you.
Right. You have people of different skin tones that can channel higher energies. You got some light-skinned people, pale-skinned people, albino people that can access visual imagery in the psyche as a holographic network better than some of the darkest people. You gotta remember, Spirit Artificial was some very dark individuals, but they didn't have the capability of using their inner light because they could never turn on their third eye. So they resorted to science and technology to oppress the ones who believed in the love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice doctrine.
Right. Love it. Love it, my brother. Yeah, family, we on fire right now, and I want to thank y'all for that. We at the 29-minute mark. I want to thank y'all for that first half an hour of just pure, I'm talking about fire. Y'all ever seen like Kobe start a game and he just shooting and making every shot? That's how it's been so far. Rogers, I think his signal got messed up. So he'll come back on when he's ready, and we'll get started. Yeah, here you go right now. All right, we'll get started with Rod. You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Can hear me good?
Yes, sir. You good to go? Okay, so Rod, check this out. So with the technology of our body and this concept of Radiohead, let's start out with, where did this term come from? you talk to me about this term Radiohead. Who introduced this term that that we're calling this show Radiohead, my brother? Who introduced this term?
Well, I first came across it from Elijah Hammett, and it was in one of his lectures where he was talking about how we receive psychic information, and he called the ones who can receive a massive amount of it Radiohead.
Mm, mm,
Right.
mhm.
They didn't have the terms. You got to remember, when he started in 1933, there was no such thing as ESP.
Yes.
That wasn't a thing yet.
Mm-hmm,
Right. There was no common coinage of the words telepathy. That wasn't the common word. That word was put together later.
mm-hmm,
So he
mm-hmm,
had to figure out a way. How am I going to describe psychic abilities to somebody who don't understand it? You look at your head like it's a radio.
mm.
Radio receiver. Now, this takes us in modern times to epigenetics,
Mhm,
which tells us the consciousness is projected into the body. It's
mhm,
not the body generating the consciousness,
mhm, mhm,
right?
mhm,
But Western science used to believe that the body itself generated the consciousness, but that's not the case. It's been proven in multiple repeatable studies.
mhm,
Right? The
mhm.
ability of our minds to act upon matter began with Einstein's spooky action at a distance
Right. Yes.
philosophy,
Yes.
which was another way of saying Radiohead that influences reality. Right? Then you had um, guys like Spinoza, and you had um, the electrician, his name's Tesla. You
Tesla.
had Tesla. Right. You had Edison didn't do nothing. He had a little brother that was his assistant that was
I already
doing all the
stole
work.
it. I already stole it from Lewis Latimer. Edison.
Now that's his assistant.
Okay.
That's why you heard that.
Okay. Okay.
And they used to always do that. That's a lot of those inventors didn't invent nothing that they got credit for, but it
Yeah.
was somebody that looked like us that gave them the invention to order to advance civilization.
Right.
You gotta remember, civilization was crashed on purpose, deliberately with willful and malicious intent.
Mm-hmm.
And the goal of crashing the civilization was for all of the ones that's fighting in the civilization developmental paradigm would be at odds with each other because nobody's going to know the right way to run civilization until all these other um, forms of running civilization fail, and they all fail.
Mm.
Communism failed, socialism failed, democracy failed, republic failed. All of these governmental styles failed. The only one in record in the human history that's ever been successful at generating the heaven on earth has been a matriarchy, which takes us back to the feminine planet paradigm.
Yes, sir. Okay, so Rod, so with the whole Radiohead concept, uh, how I approach it in my personal life is, and I want to thank you for just reminding me of the term. And I've heard about the brain being a receiver, but that word Radiohead, it just really resonated with me. That's why I was like, I eventually got to have a show with Rod called Radiohead, and I was like, I got to do it now. But just to know that radio, you got a Radiohead, um, it's sort of like it's sort of different than our everyday thinking in the language that we use, because we're thinking that our brain creates consciousness, Rod. We're thinking that when we have a thought, we say things like, damn, I had a bad thought today. But if I'm gonna use a comparison. If we turn to a radio station and the music was bad music, we wouldn't say that. We would say, oh, I don't like this music on this station. So it
And
almost
change the channel.
it changed the channel. So it almost seemed like the concept of my thoughts is the completely wrong terminology we need to use when it comes to downloading or having a feeling or an emotion or something about a frequency, experiencing a frequency. So I want to talk to you, Rod. Is the term my thoughts? is the term "I thought something today." Do we need to, in this new paradigm, in this new age, should we eliminate all that shit, Rod? Because none of this is our thoughts. It's all a frequency that we are tuning into that's in the quantum field, Rod. So should we stop saying my thoughts, Rod?
When you put the word "my" on it, you take ownership of it, even if it's not your thought.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, when a thought comes, it don't mean it came from you. It could be originating from that foul individual across the room telepathically,
Right,
and you thinking it, because you
right,
don't know you telepathically communicating with somebody.
right. Uh-huh.
Right. That was one of the great shockers of being psychic my whole life. And when I got in prison, I realized that it was a reason I turned it off. The
Explain what?
some of the thoughts that's flying around in prison that be hitting people upside the head ain't they thoughts.
Right.
It's some sick individuals with some powerful projections. A
Mm-hmm.
person don't have to cast a spell on you. They cast a spell on you by wishing you bad in their heart. They sitting there thinking bad thoughts about you.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
that's putting a spell on you. That's more of a spell than somebody going into a room, lighting a candle with a picture of you, saying some old medieval incantations over your picture. That
Mhm,
that bad thought is, if the more of them that you collect, you begin to actualize them on their behalf.
mhm,
That's you under their spell now, and it ain't even your thought.
mm.
You just on their channel.
Hey, Rob. Yeah, go ahead, my brother.
Go ahead.
No, the way I view it, and I would love for you to explain it in a way, in an esoteric way or a fancy way. But I look at all these technologies, Rod, that emulate our organic technology. We got the radio, we got the TV, we got the computer. Everything they invent is somehow mimics what we do internally. And let's say the brain is a radio, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm tuning into a station. Let's say I'm tuning into 98.7, and I keep listening to a song. Now, a song is an emotion. Let's say that emotion is happiness. Happiness has a tune to it. When you're happy, you dance a certain way. You be like, you ever see somebody happy? That's a tune, that's a rhythm. So you keep tuning into the station and dancing to this rhythm internally. So what happens in culture, if we say as above, so below, Rod, a song that becomes popular on a radio eventually makes its way to the big screen. So the big screen is the projection of our eyes. So the big screen is okay. I listen to this song so much now, it's so popular. Now I get to see it on the big screen. So oh shit, I imagine myself interviewing Rod Hayes because Rod Hayes is amazing, right? So I imagine myself, but now it's that song is so popular. I'm so happy I see it on the big screen. I'm really interviewing Rod Hayes. So with that being said, from the radio thoughts becoming popular, just like our culture, to make it into the big screen, which is the quantum television screen we see in front of us. Rod, I want to ask you, what is your thoughts on just the whole process of us being a radio, a TV, and everything combined? Like, what is your thoughts on my explanation of how I view it? And all these technologies seem to be a combined version of who we are internally. Like, it's all of them, the computer, everything. It's all us, bro. So what's your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Remember, everything in the hologram is a subtotal of the whole.
Yeah, you said that.
Right. Just because it don't look the same don't mean it's not based on the same basic principle.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. In the radio head scenario, you have something called the anterior gyrus on the right side of the brain.
Okay.
Right. That's the capacitor.
Yeah.
The focus is the station
Yeah.
for the pineal gland, which is the projector to pick up. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then the mirror cells in the prefrontal lobe, they are your visual cortex projectors.
Okay, I'm loving this.
So now when the light ray come in here,
Yeah.
and it's in the Queen's chamber, by the way. The pineal gland sits in the Queen's chamber of the brain.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Right. So it sits in the queen chamber of the brain. It's the first to get information from higher dimensional matrices,
Yeah.
right? This is why it's your intuitive attachment to creation itself. It comes right in, right here, right? And once it comes in, it lights up the pineal gland. They say your third eye is on, right? That's controlled by your left eye. Is controlled by your right brain. It's your mother's eye, right? This is the eye that Ra gave to Isis. I mean, to Hathor, Heru. But this is the eye that comes from the father. This is the one that was given to Heru, right? So the father gives the son an eye, the mother eye. You raise the Ujit. When you use them together, you become Heru incarnate. Now you are the heir, the prince that can see how to get to the throne. The only way to the throne is to find Big Mama. Because Big Mama is the only one that can sit there in the queen's chamber. Because the pineal gland is the same representation in the holy drama.
Right.
Right? It's the Black Madonna holding the child. It's the mother declaring who's the heir. Right? This is the one that she holds on her right-hand side, the right hand of the mother. Right? And this is the awakening mechanism for us as three-dimensional projections of higher dimensional consciousness.
Right.
Now we have to use the father brain. This is left brain linear logic to translate to common people what the abstract right brain is saying. So what do? We write a song, we paint a picture, we draw a picture, we write a book, right? Because the left brain has to translate the abstract information. So if mama and daddy ain't balanced, it won't work. So to find the perfect balance, as above, so below, as within, so without. Right? So it takes you on what they call the fool's journey of awakening. It's learning to activate alpha wave, theta waves, zeta waves in the brain. These are the frequency waves that allow certain information to get into the brain. Right? Most children walk around in alpha wave. They call it the imagination state.
Yeah.
They always fantasizing because they haven't came to a general consensus of what they want to create their life to be.
Yes.
Right? We supposed to be their guideposts. If we go through life and study life itself instead of studying what people tell us to study, we find a different answer to some of the problems that we face with. Right? So we teach the children to be limitless, and you take the limits off. You take the brakes off. So now your 160 IQ start coming out 1600, 2200, right? And then they children gonna come out double that, right? Because now they smart enough to teach a smarter generation how to be smarter than the generation before, right? So it's a 7-generational turnaround matrix on the flip at the close of the age to dawn a new age by inserting the matriarchy. It brings back the original teaching of the children by the righteous women who raised righteous children. And this is why how they say it in the religious world. And wisdom is justified of her children because her children do wise things is the backstory behind that. And to do wise things is to be problem solvers. Right? Knowledge is not power. Knowledge applied is power. Gotcha. But only the wise know how to properly apply the knowledge in order to maximize the power output in others. Because you already know how to do it in the self. So we talking light code. We activate the channels of the radio head to tune in. The internet, the computer is based on the RAM is the short-term memory. The hard drive is the long-term memory, and the internet is the cloud. Well, in the human mind, without the agency of a computer, the cloud is called the Akashic records, right? but you have to fill up the short-term memory and the long-term memory so you can draw directly from the cloud. That means you have to overload your storage capacity in the 3D in order for you to be automatically tapped into the cloud. This is why you have to study so much, because you have to raise your thinking into the thinking of God. You have to stop asking, what would Martin do? What would Jesus do? What would Malcolm do? And start asking, what in the hell would God be doing? If he was right here in my seat doing what I'm doing, what would God do to help the most amount of people to wake up from the slumber? And
Hey,
then you start getting your answers.
hey, Rod, you mentioned cloud. So, I love a lot of my questions come from a hermetic perspective of as above, so below, because I'm
Mhm.
tying the two worlds together. You keep mentioning the cloud containing information, and we know we could store data in the cloud. Does the clouds we see in the sky contain data? What is the spiritual significance, Rod, of the clouds that we see in the sky, and why do they call the data storage system clouds to begin with? Two questions,
Uh,
Rod. Talk.
the data storage center is a pocket of information. A cloud is a pocket of elements that forms into a cloud. It's the same way that the data in Apple forms the cloud, but in Google, in Android, it's not called the cloud. It's just called the World Wide Web. It's open source, whereas the cloud is closed source. So it's cloud seeding by Apple. In order to create the cloud, they had to seed the cloud first by allowing the most amount of people to tune into that channel and fill it up with information so it'll be retrievable. Right? It's the same way the human mind works. You can get into the Akashic records once you've studied enough subjects that the Akashic records will begin to feed information that ties them together through unified field theory. The moon is look at the imagery on the moon. Take a map of the world and lay it over the images that's on the moon. You'll see the only way, if you go to a movie theater and you look at the projector, you can see whatever is playing on the screen coming through the projector. This is what we're looking at with the moon. It's part of a holographic projection system, and it's supported by something called a dark night satellite, because the way that you need to run a hologram, right? You need a body to be in a fixed position, which is the moon, and then you need a body to travel in the opposite pole position, which is the dark night satellite. The
Right.
only the only orbiting body of the planet that goes north to south. That means it's not natural.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's just I love I love that question, because even in our everyday activity, if we become too consumed with information, we'll say, "Damn, my mind is cloudy right now." Give me a second. We'll be like, "My mind is cloudy right now." It means you got too much information. You're thinking about too much shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But see, it's like lifting weights.
Yeah.
Right. See, people be thinking because stuff going on in their brain that they thinking. That's not thinking.
Mm,
Thinking is to focus the attention on a single topic, subject, or object at a time.
love it.
And look at it from as many different angles as you can as you examine it to get the most information from it that you can. This is why people read books over and over and over again and get something different every time, because it's a review of what you already know. It's the same with the man.
So thinking is really about focus then.
Yeah. Just
So
because stuff going on in your mind, in your brain, don't mean you thinking.
Woo!
You got rogue radio channels bleeding into your channel. If you don't know how to correctly tune your own channel, you're gonna be downloading rogue channel, what they call cross
Static,
channel noise.
static, static. You're gonna be
It's not
downloading.
always static. Sometimes you listening to a song when you're driving down the highway. I don't
Yeah.
know if you're old enough to remember, Rich, but when we was, especially in the 70s, 80s, it was bad. You'd be on 98.7, and then you'll go past a hill or something, and you'll be picking up 88.1.
I know about that. I'm an
Right.
80s baby. I'm an 80s baby, so I know about that. I know about
Right.
that. I get what you're
So this the same way with what you when you think you thinking because there's something going in your brain, that don't mean you thinking,
That's deep. That's deep.
right?
That is deep.
You're not problem solving. Critical thinking and practical problem solving used to be hardwired into the way we taught children. It's been um excised from education.
Mhm.
It's been surgically extracted from education. So there's critical thinking and practical problem solving is highly discouraged by the modern systems of education, right? Unless you come from a certain peer group.
So gotta ask you about this, Rod. Gotta ask
Mhm.
you about this. This is an absolute magnificent conversation. If y'all don't share this with your friends and family, y'all don't love them. I'm gonna tell y'all this: if y'all don't share this one, y'all don't love them. This gentleman right here, Michael, said, "What a time to be alive." Listen, people used to have to climb a mountain, walk 5 miles, and do all types of crazy shit for this information. Now you have it available on the internet. Free. All you gotta do is go to YouTube Black Magic 363. You know how much we had to go through for this information that Rod is talking about, the questions I'm asking right now? Family, appreciate it. Even if you didn't have to work hard for it, appreciate it. That is a major problem we have. I want to ask you this, Rod. I want to ask you this, my brother.
But I ain't the only one, Brother Rich.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I got to always emphasize that it's a lot of young brothers younger than me.
B-Dell, we talk
I
about
got, hey,
B-Dell.
look, me and B-Dell did one on blood magic the other day.
I gotta watch that. I ain't see it yet. I gotta watch it.
It's a must see because it's my intention is that if you understand how it works, it'll activate your spiritual defense network
Yeah.
to block the blood magic from working on you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Once you know the mechanics of it, your spiritual defenses naturally knows how to protect you. But when you don't know what you're being attacked by, you being hit by an invisible man.
Mm.
So you swinging back at stuff close to you. This is what they do to us in the hood. This is why they got a church on this corner right across from the liquor store. Sometimes they next door.
Mm.
Yeah, keep you drunk on church with that blood ritual with an amen spell, and keep you drunk in the liquor store off alcohol, Kulu,
Mm-hmm.
right? Those are the spirit. This alcohol is supposed to be the comforting spirit of the ones in distress, but everybody ain't supposed to take alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
That's why some people don't have enzymes in their brain to process it correctly, and they become uncontrollable with the alcohol.
Indeed.
Right? But that's different people have different what you call genetic programs from the ancestral bloodlines.
Right. Right.
Right? I can drink better now than I could when I was a teenage alcoholic,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm less likely to drink now because of what I learned about myself when I was a teenage alcoholic.
Right. Got you. Got you. Got
So that's part of shadow work. You got to know where you weak at, where you strong at.
you. Okay. Yes. Yes, sir.
Strengthen your weaknesses and maintain your strengths.
Yes, sir.
And now you building yourself to be a fortress of strength
Mm-hmm.
instead of every time you make a move, you fall because you're too weak to endure the struggle of success. Success is not, you just don't wake up successful one day. Success is the sum total of everything you did before success was reached.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wealth is a side effect of consistently doing the right thing over and over. Where the energy go, the currency gonna flow. Right? You able to do what you do to make a living because where all of your interest is compatible with you making a living doing something you love. It's
Indeed.
gonna make your life like a permanent vacation as opposed to being a hostage in a condition where you don't want to be.
Indeed. 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 That's why they say follow your passion. That's
Yeah.
why. Yeah. Rod, let me ask you this, because you talked a lot about the matriarch and the feminine. You talk a lot about the feminine and the masculine. And we're talking about the concept of the brain being a radio. Like I'm carrying around a radio, tuning into stations. Rod, what I want to ask you right now is if the brain is a radio and I got a radio in my hand or a radio in my head, hence Radiohead, the name of the show, what kind of radio is the right hemisphere of the brain and what kind of radio is the left hemisphere of the brain? If you could describe the two, because they're different kinds of radio. Rod, what's the difference between those two radios, Rod?
The right side of the brain is feminine abstract. That means that when you hear the blues singer singing the blues,
Yeah.
the music that's behind the singer, that's
Yeah.
the right brain. The
Okay.
singer himself telling the story, that's the left brain.
Wait. Hold on. So hold up. You said the right brain, which is the feminine side of the brain,
That's
here's
the
what?
music.
Here's what like the beat?
Yep, that's the whole instrumental that's playing behind the song.
Okay.
It's coming in through the right brain.
Okay. That's okay.
Right now,
That's the
the
producer side.
singer is interpreting that in
Right.
lyrical form by
Yeah.
telling you a story.
Right.
Your last $2,
Uh-huh.
I ain't gonna lose. Your last $2,
I
I
ain't
ain't
gonna
gonna
lose.
lose.
There you
One
go,
for the
Rod.
bus stop,
There you
and the
go.
other for the jukebox to
Yeah.
play me some blues. Now I
Yeah.
can hear the music playing
Yeah.
while I'm scatting over the lyrics
Yeah.
because the music tempo drives the pace in which the words are spoken to the beat.
Mm.
So it's left brain working with right brain to create the whole song.
Mm. Man, this is some good ish, y'all. Oh, I hope y'all taking this serious. Like I said, people, if you had to work hard to get this information, a lot of y'all would appreciate it more. But I promise you, this is it. I can feel it in my soul, y'all. This show tonight is it. Let me ask you this, right? Oh man. Okay, so all right. I had a quote I want to read to you. Where is it at? Okay, it's Max Planck. And I think Max Planck is supposed to be the father of quantum physics. He invented the term the matrix. And Max Planck said, Rod Hayes, now we're talking about the brain being a radio receiver. Max Planck said, I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter, what we see around us, matter, as derivative from consciousness. Now, I like to take these scientific quantum terms, definitions, examples, and use them with modern examples that we can understand. So I want to ask you this, Rod. Based on what I just said, I'm going to read it one more time. I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. What I want to ask you is with this information, Rod. Now, you come from the streets. You come from an environment where you've had problems with individuals. I've seen you online have problems with individuals online. What I want to ask you is, when you have time to reflect on it, when you have time to recollect on certain problems you had with individuals in life, and we all have problems with individuals in life, are you more mad at the individual that you had a problem with, or are you more mad at yourself? And the reason why I ask that is because yourself being consciousness is the fundamental part of the equation, and the person you have a problem with is a derivative of the equation that Max Planck is talking about. So, Rod Hayes, after you have time to recollect, who are you more mad at, yourself or the person that you're beefing with, my brother? This
I
is
ain't
a
mad.
question. This is a hood scientific question.
So when I was younger,
Yes,
I
sir.
was never mad at me.
Yes,
I
sir.
was always mad at the person who I felt was the offender,
Yes, sir.
right? And as I grew in consciousness, I realized that all they are triggers.
Whew.
In the it's in the 3D matrix. It's part of the game to have opposition to compel growth.
Yes.
So how you handle the opposition determines the level of growth you are either trying to attain or that you have successfully reached.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Fundamental means the basic. So he's talking about the double slit experiment. He's talking about everything is in waveform until consciousness collapses into 3D. Consciousness that collapses the 3D around me is my consciousness. meaning that it's filtered through my ego.
Okay.
That's why you say my, because it's ego attachment.
Mm-hmm.
Realizing that, I say, why would somebody do such and such to me to trigger me to do this over here? Because we dealing with action, reaction, cause and effect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I look at people and I can tell how a person behaved today that's different than he always behaved. Oh, he just met somebody new. He got a new influence,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Because when people have a different influence, they behave differently. But if the influence is still the same, they behave in a predictable pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get mad at people. Most of the time, one of the biggest things that keep me now from getting mad at a lot of people is that information is like ranks in the military. The
Ooh.
generals in the war room is making the plan, but the soldiers on the battlefield is executing it, and they don't even know what the plan is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But they executing the plan of the generals in the war room,
Oh yeah.
right? And
Yes.
so I can't get mad at the soldier when he don't even know what he doing. He's
Yeah.
just doing it because he's getting the instructions from the generals in the war room. It's above their pay grade, is what they tell them,
Yeah. Indeed.
right? That means that your knowledge base propels you to higher brackets of economic capability,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Rich dad, poor dad,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
lessons your rich dad give you do not match the lessons that your poor dad give you.
Yeah.
And sometimes they be in the same person. You got rich dad all week, but Friday and Saturday night, you got poor dad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Because he's behaving in a different manner because he got that party and influence going on that's turning him back into his adolescent heyday, and he's neglecting his responsibilities. But he get himself together at church on Sunday so he can prepare to be rich dad Monday through Thursday
Mm-hmm.
or 5 o'clock Friday when he get off work. So you can be the same person that's playing two roles simultaneously, and you can see it once you start understanding the nature of the human species and how we operate within the confines of the matrix. Your
Mm-hmm.
book of life have what you call um, passport moments,
Yeah.
or what we call exits.
Yeah.
And in your book of life, it's written that you're going to face a certain adversity that's going to move you in a different direction than you would have prior being moved before. Because now that this has happened, now that my mama gone, I don't have the person to confide in on wisdom talk. So now I have to go find my big mama.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now I can have somebody that I could talk wisdom talk with
Mm-hmm.
that understand how I'm moving, and they can move according to what we both see. Masculine, feminine counterbalance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Indeed. Hey, real quick, I seen somebody earlier ask about Rod Hayes Cash App. I always let me put it on while we got 3,000 people in the room. That's big, man. Shout out to all 3,000 of y'all. Let me write this. We this show right here. This might be the show of the year, y'all. This might be that one. This might be that one, y'all. Hold up. Rod Hayes Cash sick. 8. Let me just make sure I got it. SIK. Let me just make sure real quick because I gotta do this thing right. Man, listen, anybody that spit like this, man, we what they say on the internet, protect him at all costs. That's what they say, right? And I'm sorry for screaming, but I get hyped. But they on the internet, they be like, protect him at all costs, right? Protect this man at all costs. Any man, listen, man, I'm spitting rapid fire at this man, asking him all types of questions. He knocking them down. It's like, you know how you throw a pitch? He's hitting home runs every pitch I throw at him. Support this man. Rod Hayes Cash App, $ SIK8SIKAPE. This brother here is hitting home runs with every question. Listen, I feel like I'm in a zone, right? Asking the question, but I seen a question that's so good that I gotta ask it right now, y'all. Somebody in the chat asked a question. I'm like, that's a good one. So I would have asked it. And I want to put a picture up real quick. Hold up. Just to give it more context, right? So I got a picture of Imhotep, right? And
Mm-hmm.
somebody asked, because we're talking about radio, right? the brain
Hmm.
being the radio. Somebody asked, did Imhotep wear the headpiece to better channel the radio? Rod Hayes, why the hell do we wear hats in the first place? Why is Imhotep wearing this? I love this question. Please answer this question, Rod.
Well, the hat got varying different meanings, and sometimes the hat is a symbol of power. Imhotep hat is, you see that it's almost orb shaped. It's almost look like a kufi,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That dome shaped hat is the symbol for the walking temple. And let that sink in. On top of the mosque, you have the domes, right? And in the sciences, the domed buildings is to facilitate higher thought. So when you are a walking university like Imhotep, the dome hat was the symbol for the walking university, and it where people knew that this is who you ask the questions to. It was later changed into the fish head hat that the Pharaoh wore when they united Upper and Lower Kemet. The Pope have one now, and in Islam it became the kufi, which was what you used to see all of the scholars used to wear, the kufi. And it was the symbol for the dome, which is also the symbol of the mammary gland of the woman, meaning that the milk of knowledge is the substance that they seek. Right. So it's all symbolism, but it's all telling the story. But if you see where that square is on his right side,
Yeah.
right, the square on the right side, it means the mother side. The square mean the mother. It's the 4X chromosomes marking each four corners of the square.
I thought the circle meant the mother.
That's the womb
Okay.
and the portal of life.
Okay.
The square is the family symbol for the mother to have the four corner shuffle, meaning each one of them, the three X's and the Y is the father. The four X's is the daughter, right? And the perfected family is one mother, one father, one son, one daughter. Mama got two breasts. She got an heir that's a daughter and an heir that's a son. Right. And those are the ones who suckle from the breast of mother's milk. And they say from the mouth of babes comes the wisdom, the milk of the knowledge, which takes us to the as above part, which is the Milky Way galaxy. Right. And this drives the Milky Way to Earth, which is the critical point in the Milky Way to the ones on the planet. And this becomes the university in the knowledge. And the knowledge is represented by the milk, and the milk comes from the mother, which we always attach to the mother through the silver cord.
Deep. Amazing. Let me ask you this, Rod. You know, matter of fact, before I ask you this, oh man, let's digest this for a second. We're gonna get to a 30-second commercial on the Gathering of the Masses. Digest this. I'm gonna ask about a couple of questions from the family, and then we gonna see what we take. But let's digest this for a second, family. All right.
This is a gathering. 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 This is a gathering of the masses. This is a gathering. 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 This is a gathering of the masses. This is a gathering. 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 This is a gathering of the masses. This is a gathering.
Once again, family, the Gathering of the Masses is now available on Patreon. Black Magic 363, the same name as this channel. This is the spiritual conference of the year, and if you are interested in viewing it in its entirety, it's over 10 hours long. You go right to Patreon. Shout out to all the Patreon members. This gift is for you. I decided just to throw it on there. I want to let y'all know I appreciate y'all. So go to patreon.com/blackmagic363 and you could view the whole conference. Yaki Awaken, I See the Duke of Tears, Dr. B Serious, Sister Myra, Queen of Four, Dr. Drew Pukram. It's all on Patreon. I'm uploading. I didn't finish uploading all the speakers, but it's uploading right now. So make sure you go ahead and head on over to Patreon. And being Rod got something on Patreon coming next week on the whole ESP extrasensory perception thing. And it's interesting that he said they didn't even have that word around when Elijah coined this term Radiohead, which lets me know we need to honor Elijah even more for even thinking of this before they even came up with all these terms. But we're going to do a show. Me and Rod are going to do a show on Patreon next week. So you're going to want to be a member next week anyway, just to view that as well. Rod, with that being said, let me ask you this. A phenomenon that happens with this concept of us having a radio head, the brain being a receiver of consciousness of this quantum field of these signals that's out there or in here, and we pick up on them and we tune into them. Rod, something happens where I have a thought. I tune into a radio station, and somebody across the world tunes into the radio station, and somebody across another part of the world tunes into that radio station, and somebody across another part of the world tunes into the same radio station. We all seem to tune into this radio station, this same signal at the same time. All of a sudden, it comes down to this realm and it becomes a trend. It becomes a fashion. It becomes a culture. It becomes popular. And people like, who started it? And they're like, I ain't copy you. I ain't get it from you. And they're like, yo, you copy me. You got that idea. Yo, I seen it happen so many times. A dude is like, yo, you copy me. Yo, you see me. And nigga like, no, nigga, I thought of it too. And we end up arguing with each other because we think we copied off each other, but we downloaded the signal, the radio station at the same time. You got to explain this phenomenon because it confuses all of us, Rod. What is happening here?
That's a 100 monkey effect. Look, in the great egregore or the universal mind, everything is present already there. There's nothing new under the sun. The only thing that's needed in order for multiple people to download the same interest is to have the same interest, the same feeling, and a similar patterns of thought. They'll all lock into the channel at the same time. But the first one to express it is called popping the quiff. And that's a metaphysical term meaning opening up the thought.
Right.
Once you open the thought up in the 3D realm, and that's why you got multiple inventors that file for patents on the similar inventions at the same time. And now they got to figure out who filed first.
Yeah.
Right. And then when they find out who filed first, let me see your records. How far back do they go to determine if you didn't steal it from him? Now, the problem coming in is when you file for a patent for the same invention in England as a person filing for the patent on the same invention in the United States. Right now, there's no cause for communication or contact, and this is sometimes 5-10 people will be doing it. It's called popping the quiff. You see it a lot. You see it a lot in dance trends, where would be a tribe in New York or a group of people from one of the boroughs in New York will start a dance trend,
and then
somebody else is doing a similar dance trend in California, in the Bay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So around the time they was Harlem shaking, in the Bay, they was getting hyphy.
I love this shit.
Right?
Yeah.
This is how the tribes mirror each other. When one of them do something that they used to do, it tell the other tribe, do what you used to do, and then it come out in modern time as a new trend or a new dance or a new style, but it's ancient. All of this stuff that you see in front of us is ancient, being repeated in the modern era under a different circumstances or a different condition, but the basics is the same. The root program doesn't change.
So, Rod, so you talk a lot about the Americas, and our focus has been on Africa, Egypt, overseas, and you talk about the importance of the Americas a lot. You got a lot of attention, a lot of people to focus on the indigenous people in America and our contribution to modern and ancient history. What I want to ask you is that a lot of focus has been this summer on the Olympics, and people have noticed, just like since the Olympics have started, what we call Black Americans have dominated the Olympics since it started. I mean, every Olympics, Black Americans are dominating the Olympics. You could go way back to Nazi Germany. Black Americans dominate the Olympics. What is it about the people you call the Indigenous Americans, or people call the Moors? Are they better at popping the quiff? What is it about these, where they seem to just tap into something, at a faster rate or whatever? Why are they dominating the Olympics? So like people, I heard 19 Keys talk about it. What is it about the indigenous people on this land that you talk about a lot, my brother?
Access to make the body move according to the desire of the spirit. It's all tribal in origin, and it's ancient in scope.
Yeah.
We was not allowed to do certain things, therefore you couldn't see the greatness in us.
Uh-huh.
The Oscar and the Oscars is a brother. But it's also the same statue symbolism as Ptah.
Ptah, yeah.
Right? When you know the symbolism, then you understand why we was excluded from the Oscars. It had nothing to do with us. It had something to do with, are they going to assimilate this one drop of blood, or do we just got to kill them all? Right? The proof is in the arts and entertainment, because if you can't assimilate right brain and left brain, then you won't be able to ascend, because they have to work in harmony together, in unison. When they don't, when you only left brain, you go from being an athlete in college, like Stephen Hawkins, with a high IQ, to being a cripple in a wheelchair that had to design a communication network before his body fully collapsed, because he couldn't turn his right brain on, and he had no woman to sponsor his mitochondria. So she can't turn it on for him, so the body's going to break down.
Indeed. Let me get a couple of questions from y'all. We're gonna do about 2 or 3 questions before we get out of here.
Hey, I wanted to mention something, since you brought up originating of a topic. You know the term UFO, right?
Yeah.
All right. Elijah was calling them flying discs, but before Elijah talked about the mother plane and the baby planes, Noble Drew Ali wrote about an apparatus. There was no term for spaceship.
Interesting.
So when you look at what he say the apparatus do, he's describing them a spaceship.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. He say that an apparatus is going to come, and going to take the righteous Moors up off the earth to avert the destruction. But that's really a reverse statement, because the apparatus is going to bring some soldiers to put the new world in order if we get resistance from the faction that's told to lead. So we talking early 1900s about an apparatus and space travel, right? And we know that the Van Allen belt is the Pleiadian light lock, and it's enforced with an Arcturian conjure to create a barrier where the ones that's fighting in this war is isolated, and the war can't interfere with other galaxies.
Right.
When you read in the ancient text, the reason why there was a galactic council formed is because they was just doing what they want down here.
Yeah.
They was blowing up Gandivas, planet destroyers, and somebody said somebody got to stop that for that becoming the cancer of all of the galaxies. So
Oh
they
my.
had to put us in a condition that
Yeah.
we forced to have to deal with our own devices.
Indeed. Hey, let's get to a couple of questions before we get out of here. I want to give a shout out to Dave. Rod, remember I showed you uh um a paper with the light code language. Remember last show I showed
Yeah,
you that? This is the brother here. This brother here with the question. This is brother David. David is tapped in, Rod. I mean, the dude is tapped in.
I could tell from what was on the paper.
His question is, how does the wind, which is made from solar energy, play into this conversation? Great question, Dave.
Mhm. The wind is a byproduct of the heating and cooling of air in succession,
Mm,
right? And the wind can also be harnessed the same as any other form of energy,
mm,
right? And it's also a symbolism for talking across devices like this. The ancients called it talking to the airwaves. Go back to the book of Ezekiel. And Ezekiel spoke to the dry bones and they shuddered, but they didn't move. I mean, he was
right,
talking to him in person. They
right.
can't hear him.
Fire.
So now they tell him, don't talk to the bones. Turn
Yeah.
around and talk to the winds. And the winds will blow your words over the bones and they will grow to be an exceedingly great army. So now it's telling you, using modern science, to use the internet is the path of least resistance to reach the most people in this army in the Valley of the Bone,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
right? So
mm-hmm.
when they talking about the symbolism for airwaves and or the symbol for airwaves look like the same symbol for sound, right? It's the echo symbol, like your echo going out. The symbol for water is waves. It's the symbol for Aquarius,
Right, right.
right? And wind symbolizes thought, water symbolizes spirit, right? Earth symbolizes matter, and fire symbolizes ether or active ether. The ether becoming when all of I didn't know you could put that up there, Rich.
You know what I mean? I didn't know you was gonna say that. Synchronicity. You know, we tapped in, Ron. Go ahead, my brother. We tapped
So once you learn to bend the elements, the fire element, the
in.
element of passion, the water element, the element of compassion, the air element, the element of sympathy, and the earth element, the activation of the matter. Then you are activating together, they form the love energy, which is the ether, which takes us to African root science, nine ether, melanin, primordial noon, NUN, gives way to the Catholic nuns on the flip
Mm-hmm.
because they taking you back to the sacerdotal seat. So it's all traveling, the energies is used to understand the travels of spirit. Spirit is influencing the mind by what we call higher self, lower self. Noble Ali say, man, is truth and falsehood is strangely mixed. Your spirit is the truth, your body is the lie.
Mm, indeed. Hey, I listen. Let me ask a couple of more questions before we get out of here. Once again, shout out to everybody in the room. It means a lot to me that we got 3,000 people in here. It's almost 11 o'clock at night on a Tuesday, ready to receive this message. And I'm glad I follow my spirit to make this show. Thankful for Rod. Thankful for all of y'all for tuning in. And let me tell you, y'all asked us some. I started out with some brilliant questions. Rod had brilliant answers, and y'all asked us some brilliant questions. So it's a whole vibe tonight. This is a whole vibe, and we're all tuning into this vibration. So shout out to that vibration as well for being present tonight, y'all. There's a vibration that's present that's feeding everybody. It's feeding everybody, y'all. So let's continue. I got some brilliant questions from y'all. So let me ask Rod another brilliant question from y'all. Let me ask this. What are some practices one can use to help children find their channel in the radio? Love it. Thank
The first thing that you have to do is tell them. Tell them they got their own radio station,
you.
and
Oh,
then you tell them in your radio station if it's a thought that make you feel bad, that's not from you.
ooh, love it. Love it.
If it make you feel depressed, down, sad, angry, those are other people's thoughts that's invading your space.
Oh, I love it, man. Oh, man.
Right. And then you teach them that they don't have to accept it. If they can control themselves, then none of those thoughts on their radio station can cloud their music. And
Yeah.
their music can be told. I tell the children, you got a piece of gold in your heart, and to do those things that make you smile big is how you make the gold grow.
Ah, man. I love it. I love it.
You got to cultivate the golden heart wherever you see a
Yeah.
baby heart.
I tell you that the other day, man. My heart is full of gold, y'all. I told y'all that the other day. Oh man, this is beautiful, y'all. Okay. So let's get to the next question. Like I said, I appreciate the magnificent questions. Next one, should we cover our? We talked about the crown, right? And we show Imhotep, right, Rod? He covering the crown. Should this person ask? Should we cover our heads / crowns more chakra when we are outdoors?
That goes to personal preference. If somebody tell you you have to do that, that's what you call a religious mandate.
Yeah, religions do that. Yeah,
You
religion.
not you not obligated to cover your crown or uncover your crown. You have to feel how you feel about it, because today you might want to wear a hat. Tomorrow you might not want to wear a hat,
Indeed. Okay.
right?
Okay.
And today you might go out there and the sun might be sending energies, destructive energies to cleanse something, and you needed to block, so your intuition told you to wear a hat. But
Mm-hmm.
then the next day, the sun is sending healing energy down, and your intuition told you don't wear no hat today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to know how to follow your own channel, your own station, in your own mind,
Mm-hmm.
without allowing other people's influence to interfere. And then when you study, you're not studying because you're trying to meet a curriculum standard. You're studying because you're trying to see another perspective of information. The more perspectives that you see, the broader your calculation capabilities become.
Mm-hmm.
It's from going from a small 1+1 calculator to a supercomputer. You
Mm-hmm.
have supercomputer capabilities, but you got these people teaching you to just stay a calculator.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, let's get to this next question. Um right, okay. What is the best way to clear your mind, parentheses channel, before you go to sleep, Rod?
That's a good question. Everybody have a different thing that relaxes them,
Yeah.
right? The mind tend to know when it's time to go to sleep, so it start dreaming while you wake. They call that an overactive mind.
Yeah.
You just dreaming while you wake because it's anticipating that your body finna lay down.
Mm. Mm.
So you gotta relax the body enough, and then let the mind go. It'll go where it want to go, and the body will fall asleep.
Yeah.
So some people use what we call olfactory stimulation, like scents, like lavender is a good one. Some of them use incense. Some of them use oils and different things to relax. And then you got some people that they can't relax, so they drink a can of beer, or they might smoke a joint, but they don't smoke until it's bedtime. And then you got some people that can do it just off. Like I train myself that before I go to bed, I drink a big cup of cold water,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't fall asleep until your internal temperature drops. I think it's 2 degrees below your external temperature,
Mm.
and the cold water facilitates that faster.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I train. So I would, before I go to bed, I smash me a big cup of cold water and down, and I'm out.
Mm.
You know.
Interesting.
So now, even if I don't do it every night, if I get too tired and I can't go to sleep,
Yeah.
I go drink me a big cold water, glass of water, and I'm out.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah. You
Okay.
train yourself to find you something that relaxes you.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to another question, family. Is there one mudra for each chakra? Because I see a lot of people do different ones.
Mudras, when you using multiple mudras, you are using multiple energy centers.
Mm-hmm.
These are more like acupuncture points between chakras, and you move in the energy with the mudras. If you get an encyclopedia of mudras, it'll tell you what each one of them is for. And then when you start using them in rapid succession, you speeding up the energy path that you selected.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We use mudras also for tribal energy link,
Mm-hmm.
like peace stones in Chicago. When they greet each other, they throw up the five.
Mm-hmm.
GDs throw up pitchfork.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Viceroys throw up the VL. These are also mudras.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they also are projecting certain key energy that's causing the facilitating of a tribal linking network. So the mudras are good to learn, because once you learn the mudras and you learn acupressure, you can do so much with that energy.
Indeed. Hey, family, I want to thank y'all. Let me see if I see something else. Shout out to Shockwave Truth. He been donating tonight, and he didn't ask questions, but he just wanted to make some comments. He said, "We defeated them eons ago during the War of Wrath. Our power was with our gods. We forgot who the enemy was. Replace evil with enlil and prayers and make more sense. Amun Ra is not Marduk. Ra is Earth champion. That along with Ganges in India." What you think about that comment, Rod? I don't quite understand it, but what do you? I don't know if you know. It's like
Um,
it's like
I,
a lot.
I
Yeah,
I don't really have much to say about it.
yeah,
He said Amon Ra is not Marduk, because first of all, it was two Marduks.
yeah.
That's the only thing I would add, and that they're not the same person. One is named to replace the other.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I want to read that. Shout out to that brother. I didn't quite understand your question, but I appreciate the the super chat. Let's see if I see another. But oh man, I mean, from the family, we've been on here for an hour and 30 minutes, y'all. It's been non. I like my shows to be electrical, filled with electricity. Like I always say that, right? I like my shit to be popping. Like you can feel this shit. You don't hear it, you feel it. And it was nonstop electricity for an hour and 30 minutes. So I just want to thank everybody who participates, who participated in this. Let me get one more question before we leave. Let me see. Why does that matter? Okay, let me ask this. So we're gonna end it with this, since this is how we all come into this realm. And 15K, you keep asking this question. You keep spamming the comment. Let me ask this question. How does male and female create with the circuit of sex? With the circuit as yet.
Right. So what he talking about? I talked about this quite a few times before. That a man and a woman together forms a remote control on their reality.
Okay. Explain
The sex link is a it's a spiritual link in a physical deliberate form,
that. Okay.
right?
Uh-huh.
And the circuit is created when the man sit in what's called lotus position. Some people can't sit like that now because they knees bad, so they'll sit in a chair, and the woman sit on him, and he penetrate her. Then he put his tongue at the roof of her mouth, or she could put her tongue at the roof of his mouth,
Mm-hmm.
and that creates the circuit.
Mm-hmm.
Or you got to know what you're creating, or you just creating the circuit just to have a circuit, just to exchange energy. But if
Mm-hmm.
you're creating something, you really telling the reality to change to the frequency that y'all generate through the act of sex. That's part of sex magic.
Right. 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 So let me ask you this real quick before we end the show. So I hear a lot about sex magic. I heard a lot about sex magic. I've been in this in this spiritual community for quite some time, Rod. I've interviewed hundreds of speakers. I've asked thousands upon thousands of questions, and I've talked with thousands of people about various topics. And in the topic of sex magic, I hear a lot of people talk about it, but the people I hear talk about it, when you look at their life, they don't seem to get any results. They seem to talk about sex magic, but I don't see them getting any motherfucking results, Rod. They seem to be in the same position they was in 10, 20, or 5, 10, whatever years ago. My question to you is, does the love component have to be there with sex magic for sex magic to work? And I ask that because I don't see this shit working for a lot of people, my brother.
The love component is the amplifier on the speaker system.
Okay, it's the money. Like money's the amplifier.
Mm. Love is the amplifier.
Okay, love. Okay, okay.
Money the side effect.
Okay, okay. I got you.
Right. Money is the flow of the energy. If you can make enough energy flow, the money gonna come.
Got you.
Right. Sex energy and spirit energy are fraternal twins. One comes up, the other comes down.
Mm-hmm.
The goal is to try to make them move at the same time. The downward draw comes from the feminine, and she forces the male to send the energy up. That's the same way that his genitals rise, is the same way his energy rise.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you got the statue of Ty with the what they call ithophallic representation. The rise, the raising of the masculine male energy that in the female, the orgasmic experience is a requirement for the fulfillment of the contract between the man and the woman when they create.
Yeah.
If she ain't having no orgasm, I don't give a damn how much he trying to create. He not gonna get what he wants.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She have to have an orgasm in order to activate the spiritual energy in the 3D, because that's the downward draw on the spiritual energy.
Got you, Rod. Rod, let me ask you, and this is the last question, I swear, but I just love this mother effing conversation tonight. This is epic, family. Let me get back on the screen. Where I'm at. I want to see y'all. I want y'all to see my excitement. I love this shit, y'all. Rod talked about being passionate, right? I love it. I swear, y'all. I'm the GOAT. You see, I love this shit. I swear, I love this conversation. I love what I do. Let me ask you this before we get out of here, Rod, on a serious tip. All right, so and I tell you, I like to use personal examples to explain spiritual concepts. So I've talked to brothers like Panic, Dr. Phil Valentine. I've interviewed Bobby Hemmett about the concept of death, what we call death. And we know we are eternal. We know energy lives on, and we can't die. We just, transform into different states. Just common things I thought about that. I said, I'm going to ask somebody this one day. So since we're talking about love, right? And we're talking about the male and female, there's been times when I live with my lady, since for the last 15 years, I live with my lady. So every night we sleep together unless somebody's out of town or whatever. And there's been nights where I just wondered, or I asked her, I'm like, I'm holding her, she's holding me. And I'm like, I wonder, since they say, sex is an energy exchange, or, you just being entangled with somebody is an energy exchange. There's bones, there's fossils with people holding each other when they die that they've dug up, and they seen people holding each other when they die. If you're holding somebody when they die, Rod, say something just happens where you're holding somebody and both of your worlds end at the same time, do y'all both go to the same place? Because that's been a topic about where do you go to when you die. If I'm holding somebody and we happen to die at the same time, are we going to the same destination, Rod? Because we're exchanging the same energy, Rod, and that'll end the show right there. What a way to end it. Go ahead, my brother.
So we don't necessarily, we got a book of life.
Yeah. Pillow talk. You said pillow talk. Yeah, pillow talk.
So in the book of life, right? If my conclusion, I wanted to go with the one I love the most.
Yeah.
That's when you dig us up, that's how you find us in an embrace. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that we're gonna go to the exact same place at the exact same time.
Gotcha.
We might live a series of lifetimes separate before we come back in the same lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
but the love will still be just as strong.
Got you.
Right.
Powerful.
That's what they call twin flames, but it's not what the way they describing it is some romanticized fantasy BS.
Mm-hmm.
The twin flames will tear your life apart in order to put it back together correctly.
Whew.
And
Whew.
people ain't ready for that because that's going through what you call a catharsis, a painful catharsis of negativity out of the self and the relationship. And you probably can't do it being close proximity to each other, lest y'all end up being toxic to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But when you embrace like that, you normally have some kind of soul pact.
Yeah.
Right. Y'all came in, y'all might have came in at the same time with the agreement that y'all was gonna leave that way.
Right. 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 Right.
Right. And, and sometimes because outside of consciousness, there's no concept of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So to an eternal, these lifetimes seem so long while we live in them, but when we leave the body, we look back on it and we be cracking up.
Bam. Damn.
Like every emotion is actually a good emotion.
Every emotion you saying.
Yeah, when you're not in the physical form.
Mm-hmm.
But when you in the physical form, some of them emotions will break you down, and that's what you came to experience.
So Ron, they outside the physical form, they don't have sympathy during the periods of slavery when people are being prostituted or slavery. They don't have they don't have sympathy for that. Ron, come on, Ron, don't say, Ron, don't say, Ron, don't say, Ron, don't come on, Ron, don't
Look,
say that. Ron, don't
outside
do
of the 3D, in
it.
your
Ron.
whole, you got a whole light body.
Yes, sir.
A whole light body is a body of knowledge,
Yeah,
pure empirical data.
yeah.
You have to come into the 3D realm, and the only realms where emotions is facilitated is feminine realms.
Mm,
That's why emotions are primarily under the control of women because it's a feminine aspect in the counterbalance of the masculine aspect.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
The masculine aspect is thoughts, linear logic. The
mm-hmm,
feminine aspect is abstract knowledge and emotional deep feeling.
mm-hmm,
If you can balance the two, that's all four chambers of the brain represented,
mm-hmm,
a four corner shuffle.
mm-hmm.
Then this is what causes the brain right and left hemisphere to pump simultaneously to raise the uh, sacred secretion that allows you to, when your pineal gland turn on now,
Right.
you seeing with the gold light instead of the silver light.
Yes, sir.
So you're looking from the perspective of the sun instead of looking from the perspective of the moon.
Indeed. Whew, man. All right, what a show. Yeah, yeah. Lil Ray J said one of the best lives holding. Yeah, there's 3,100 people in the building. We deep in here tonight, y'all. Shout out to Urban X. Shout out to Urban X TV in the building. Urban X said imagine God being in its feelings. Shout out to Urban X. Listen, family, a classic live. We packed in here. We about to wrap it up. I want to thank all of y'all. I mean, it's in the air. If y'all can feel it, it's in the air. I swear to God, y'all, it's in the air. Rod Hayes, man. Before we close it out, tell the people how they could contact you, my brother.
Y'all can catch me at Rod Hayes on Facebook or the Sick Eight, the same as my Cash App with the in front of it instead of the dollar sign.
Yeah.
And that's the primary two places. Otherwise, y'all catch me here or wherever I'm doing the guest appearance at, Young Elder, or wherever.
Hey, make sure, and also Rod Hayes just did a live with B Dell. Make sure y'all go to B Dell's channel, B Dell 1014, I think it is. It's called the Blood Oath. So make sure all of y'all go to B Dell 10 all 3,000 of y'all, B Dell's page, and check out the interview that he just did with Rod Hayes on a Blood Oath. I've been busy. My family was in town this weekend. I couldn't even go to Invest Fest, but I got time now. I'm gonna sit down. One of the first things I'm gonna do is watch that interview with B-Dale and Rod Hayes. Shout out to my brother B-Dale. With that being said, Rod Hayes, I gotta call you because I want to get you on Patreon next week. And besides that, my brother, thank you so much, brother. The amazing classic show, Rod. Oh
I
man,
appreciate it, brother Rich.
indeed.
So people wanted some book references.
Okay.
So it's a book called Unlocking Your Telecult Powers. I forgot the author name.
Uh-huh.
It's another one called How to Tap into ESP.
Yeah.
Let me see what else is a good one.
They said I got the notebook. Yes, I do got the notebook, y'all. They said reach over there with the notebook. I do got the notebook. I'll be right.
Hey, look, Alpha to the Omega, beginning to the end. Well, the first thing I said to you, what I say, Rich, before we started.
Like you got your pen and your note, your pen and your pad. You said, yeah.
You love taking notes when we be typing it up.
Yeah.
Hey, look, they don't even know, but this is the same kind of conversations we have when you call me and be asking me questions over the phone.
Over the phone, it's the same thing. Yo, it's the same. I quote, it's the same. This is what makes it so fun. And I'm like, wow, my life is magnificent. I get to have the same conversation I have on the phone with Rod is the same conversation I have with y'all. Yo, this shit is it's beautiful, y'all. I'm thankful for this. I'm extremely thankful for this. And just to talk to Rod, man, this dude is like they say, protect this man at all costs. Rod, I'm gonna call you tomorrow probably so we can set up the Patreon.
Whenever you're ready, you know me.
Got
Stay
you.
ready, don't get ready.
I thank you, my brother. I'm gonna talk to you tomorrow. Family, I will see y'all tomorrow with another guest. Don't know who now, but I will see everybody tomorrow. Peace, family.
Peace.
Indeed.